You ever have one of those days that starts off so normal, you almost feel like the universe is giving you a break, and then, just when you let your guard down, something happens that splits your whole world right down the middle? That was me, a regular Saturday, sun coming through the blinds, thinking maybe, just maybe, we'd finally have a calm weekend. But if you live in a place like Willowbrook Estates, you learn quick, the danger you really gotta worry about isn't the world outside. It's the person next door, the one with the perfect lawn, a clipboard, and that smile that never touches their eyes. My name's Daniel Reyes. For years, I was the quiet single dad in a neighborhood obsessed with perfection. Folks saw my little girl, Grace. She's 6, full of energy, deaf since birth, but communicates with her whole soul, and they mostly smiled and kept their distance. I worked from home. People thought I was just another IT consultant, but truth is, I spent my days on encrypted calls supporting military teams overseas. Just another side of my life no one ever guessed. The only ones who really knew me were Grace and our service dog, Rusty, who followed her like a shadow, always ready for anything. We'd only been in Willowbrook for 3 weeks when the trouble started. See, the HOA president, Linda Weaver, she ran the place like a private fiefdom, more rules than the city council, and twice as nosy. She hated anything that didn't fit her idea of order. For her, Grace's sidewalk chalk drawings were graffiti, Rusty was a health hazard, and ramps on the porch were a public nuisance. She'd write us up for anything, even not waving back fast enough. But the one that got me? She tried to claim families like ours were lowering property values, handed me a stack of official-looking documents, and told me maybe it was time to move out, for the good of the neighborhood. Yeah, that happened. You ever hear something so cold, it leaves you shaking inside, but you keep it together for your kid? That's what I did. I told Linda the law was on our side, and Grace wasn't going anywhere. But Linda wasn't looking for compromise. She wanted to fight, or maybe just to prove she could make anyone's life miserable if she wanted to. That's how we ended up at the community center that morning. She'd called a special meeting, insisted I bring Grace so people could see the disruption for themselves. Grace wore her favorite purple dress, Rusty right by her side. We walked in, and the place was full of people staring at their shoes, pretending not to notice us. Linda started in, rattling off complaints, reading from a binder that probably weighed more than Grace. And she even dragged out a so-called child behavior expert, some guy who looked about as compassionate as a parking ticket, to explain how disabled kids create chaos. I could feel my anger simmering, but I just held Grace close. That's when Linda crossed a line no one expected. She grabbed Grace's arm. Too rough, I saw my daughter wince, and started dragging her toward the kitchen, right there in front of everyone. Kids like her have to learn the world won't change for them, she said, her voice echoing off the cheap ceiling tiles. Then, before anyone could move, she yanked open the big freezer, shoved Grace inside, slammed the door, and turned the latch. Let me back up a sec. Have you ever watched a room full of adults freeze in place? Half had their phones out, filming, maybe thinking this was just another HOA meeting gone bad, maybe too shocked to move. Rusty barked, pawing at the door. I tried to shove past Linda, who was ranting about tough love. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was my CO, calling for a scheduled security check-in. I told her, through gritted teeth, what was happening. She went from chatty to all business in a heartbeat. Hold position. We're inbound. Maintain safety for the child. That's when things got surreal. Seconds later, we all heard the thumping of a helicopter overhead, the whole building vibrating. People ran to the windows, confused. Me? I knew what was coming. The door burst open and in came Navy SEALs. My team, suited up, moving like they owned the place. Linda tried to protest, but they put her in cuffs so fast she barely knew what hit her. One medic scooped up Grace, wrapped her in a thermal blanket, and Rusty leapt up to lick her face, tail wagging like he'd just won the lottery. Grace was okay, shaken, cold, but tougher than any kid I've ever met. Word spread like wildfire. The video hit the news. HOA president arrested for assault. Deaf girl rescued by Navy SEALs. You can't make this stuff up. Linda tried to play the victim, claimed stress, protecting community standards, you name it, but the jury didn't buy it. She got convicted, assault, hate crime, attempted murder, the works. Life sentence, no parole. You'd think that would be the end, right? But here's where the story really turned. The neighborhood changed overnight. People started talking about all the little ways Linda had bullied folks for years, how easy it was to ignore it until someone really got hurt. Instead of falling apart, Willowbrook got stronger. Parents who'd never said a word before banded together, created an inclusion association, turned the old community center into a place where all kids, disabled, neurotypical, shy, loud, could just be kids. Property values didn't drop. In fact, more families wanted to move in because they saw a place where kindness meant more than curb appeal. And then, here's the twist I didn't see coming. Linda, from prison, started sending letters to Grace. At first, I was furious, but Grace, she wanted to read them. People can change, Dad, she signed. They wrote back and forth for months. Grace teaching Linda about deaf culture, about what it means to belong, about forgiveness. Their letters became the backbone of a local documentary on compassion. It made folks see the story not as a freak incident, but as a call to do better, to look out for each other. By the time Grace was ready for high school, she'd become something of a legend. She taught sign language classes at the community center, organized events, showed everyone that her deafness wasn't a weakness. It was just another way to communicate strength. She even gave her valedictorian speech in sign language, and the whole auditorium, neighbors, teachers, even the old-timers who'd once grumbled about that special needs girl, stood up and signed thank you right back at her. And somewhere, in a prison library, Linda leads a group learning ASL, trying to make amends the only way she knows how. Is it enough? Maybe, maybe not. But forgiveness, real forgiveness, is a strange thing. It doesn't just free the person who did wrong. It sets everyone else loose too. Looking back, the coldest, most terrifying day of my life became the spark that lit up this whole place with hope. So if you've listened this far, let me ask, where would you draw the line? Would you have spoken up, or just filmed and watched like so many did? Do you believe a community should protect its most vulnerable, even if it means going against the loudest voice in the room? Let's hear your thoughts below, because this isn't just my story. It's for everyone who's ever wondered if a single act of courage could actually change the world. What do you think?